Brad Gotch, newest Port Adelaide assistant coach. Welcome to the program, Brad. How are you?
Yeah, good, Graham. How are you?
Good, mate. Seeing what you're coming into, all this bickering between Port Adelaide and the Crows. Congratulations. We understand it was a fairly quick approach and a fairly quick decision for you.
Oh, I don't know about a quick approach. It was a quick decision for me because I was very excited when I got given the opportunity. But look, it goes back a few weeks actually because Peter Road was over here for the draft camp.
Oh,
and,
I know. Someone read somewhere that you were.
You've been quoted as saying it happened quickly. I only heard from Port last Friday.
Yeah, as far as the actual approach concerned. Before that, I'd had Dean Loadley doing a bit of work behind the scenes because Dean and I go a fair way back. In Collingwood days, and he'd been, because look, I made a decision about a month ago that I wanted to sort of get out of the VFL and sort of get back into the AFL on a full-time basis because I've had a unique role where I've been involved in alignment. So I'm spending half my week coaching the VFL team and then half the week in with the AFL team.
Yeah, but your CV is so impressive. The things you've done in footy, well, apart from playing, of course, and you had a little bit of time here in Adelaide back in the 80s playing for Port, but the things you've done in the under-18s and the VFL and senior coaching positions with AFL teams
and premierships
is really impressive. So, what is it about coming back to Adelaide that moved you?
Well, I think it's just a challenge. If you look back on the CV, I went to Collingwood in 2000 with Mick Malthouse and Neil Baum. And at that time, Dean Loadley took up the opportunity as well. So they needed people to roll the sleeves up. And, I was coaching a TAC Cup team, the Sandringham Dragons, at that stage. So I'd gone down the path of trying to, look at both coaching and development. And, the opportunity came along to get involved with Collingwood. Although the first 2 years at Collingwood, I did the midfield. So I had Nathan Buckley and Paul LeCuria and Tarkin Lockyer and all those sorts of guys, Scotty Burns. Actually, it was really nice. I got a text from Scotty Burns today congratulating me on the appointment. So, I've got quite a long history with those guys, and then being at Collingwood for 8 years under one of the master coaches in the competition, I suppose you learn a lot, and you just feel, you want to impart that knowledge and power onto the players that need it at the time. And I think Port Adelaide are at the position now where they've got a really talented group. I've watched a bit of the footy over the last few years, especially, you're watching it on Foxtel, and you pick up quite a few things. I think I can offer a lot to, a team and a club at this particular time in my career.
So what appeals to you the most about this job and the challenges that this may very well face for you, Brad?
Well, I think the key thing is that as one of the more experienced coaches on the panel that, maybe I can just add that little bit more of a steadiness and the fact that, I have been in coaches' boxes for a long time with both Mick and Rodney Eade as well, and also Dean Bailey, that, just that steadying influence, that this might be something that I can add that's just going to make them a little bit better as we go along. Plus, you need to challenge people, and we're always learning. And if anyone thinks you're not, well, you shouldn't really be in the caper. So hopefully, I can add a different slant to it or a different angle to things. And look, I really do rate Gary Hocking. I've known Gary for a long time because I was coaching Williamstown when he was at the Western Jets, so I had a bit of an affiliation with him there. And Sean Wren's quite a well-known figure over here in Melbourne, as we know, and been a great decorated player. So, and Josh Carr's involved with the stoppages, so it seems a really exciting group. And Matty Primus, I've got a lot of time with him after spending time with him on the weekend and just seeing how passionate, and he's got a real direction and vision of where he's trying to take the footy club. It just seems really appropriate that I might be able to help in that manner. I
think one of the big advantages you've got is you've actually been a coach of teams in your own right. At a fairly high level, maybe not AFL level, but just a rung below it. When you talk about coaching at Williamstown and Casey Scorpions, I mean, I think that makes a big difference when you're coming into a group of players. Yeah,
I think it does because you know the dynamics of what goes on and the pressure that you get put under, and you do it, and it happens week in, week out. And as you would have seen, they've had a few premierships along the way. There's no bigger pressure cooker than being involved in those sorts of games. So, hopefully that will hold me in good stead and help, develop other people within the club and especially players. That's the key thing, if we can get the betterment out of the players. Because, the biggest satisfaction I get as a coach is seeing them be the best that they can be.
Brad, what is your role? What's your job description?
Yeah, at this stage it's the defensive coach. So, basically looking after the back line and the ball movement, back transition type of stuff. And then we'll work out a few more other things as we sit down as a group when we all get together. With a new group, there's time I've got to spend together just working out what our specialties are and what our main advantages will be to the group. So we'll sit down probably in the next week and do that.
And from an outsider looking in to Port Adelaide, you'd have an impression of them, and one of the first things, the Brad Gotch stamp will be on this group. What do you think it may very well be?
Oh, I think firstly you've got to get to know the players, but they seem a young group, but a very talented group. Like I was just looking through the list today, got up on the internet once I got appointed, just to start to familiarise myself with the names of the players. And as I said, I watched a bit towards the end of the season. I saw the Essendon game on Foxtel, where they really had them under control, and then I saw the Melbourne, because naturally I was involved with Melbourne. And I mean, that was a great day at the Adelaide Oval for that last game of the year, and they played pretty well. So, but then I saw the Collingwood and the Hawthorn games as well, which was just a few weeks before that, and they were pretty average. So, we've just got to try and get that sort of consistency into the way they play. But all good teams that I've been part of, as you know, you can see I've been part of Collingwood in 2002 and 3 in the grand finals. They're a team, they know their roles, they stand for something. They've got to put in a lot of work. You look at Geelong and Collingwood this year, and the body shapes and the strength of those guys. The game's a lot about contested ball these days, and using the ball well and being able to kick it well and make good decisions. So hopefully I'll have a look at the training program and maybe offer some thoughts of what I think is really important to get a squad and players heading in the right direction.
Matthew Primus, I think people were patient with him this year. There's no doubt I think he escaped a lot of the criticism that would normally have come from such a poor season, because the club had failed to put an effective coaching structure around him. Now he won't have that buffer this year. So what are you hoping to bring to him in that regard, given the fact that performances are going to be everything early? He won't be able to withstand the scrutiny if the results aren't on the board early. Yeah,
okay. Well, I mean, that's your opinion there, I suppose. I'm not as close to hand with all that sort of stuff, but I would have thought that we've got to make sure we have a really good pre-season, and we know how we want to play footy. The blokes will know their roles. They'll be fit. They'll be strong. They'll have developed with certain techniques that we can add to them. I'll certainly be interested to see what the training program's like. I've been under some very good people, and both in fitness and in conditioning. So we'll have a look at all that, and if I can add something that might make a tweak to it along the way, I'll certainly throw it up, because at the end of the day, it's one in all in now. I'm not here just to make up numbers or you go along and just be satisfied with the job. I like being successful, and I'm sure that's what Port Adelaide want. I know my time at Port Adelaide in the mid-'80s, I was bought over when they weren't going that well, and I remember sitting up the other end of the board table to Bob McLean, and he said, "Look, son, we've got you over here. We're out of the 5 at the minute. We don't accept that sort of stuff here at Port Adelaide. We want to be a successful team, and we brought you over to hopefully add something to it." So, yeah, the expectations are always high, and that's how they should be.
You said you're mate of Dean Laidley, and he's been a good influence on you, and we were critical of Dean's role last year. Not critical of Dean personally, because we had a fair bit to do with him. He came into our studio, but the fact he would only commit to the 1 day a week and wasn't prepared to move over, we think that had a really negative effect on the profile of the coaching panel. But you obviously have a different perspective of that if you are so close to him. What was his observations about the team?
Yeah, well, I think firstly, from what I gather, he'd already committed to another job when Matthew asked him to sort of get involved, and they knew that he could only commit a couple of days a week. That's what he told me. So I can only take that on the face value. So he was always a very committed man. Like I reckon when I was at Collingwood, we used to try and kick him out of the place, because he just spent so much time analysing things, and he was really driven to go and coach his own team, which he did with North Melbourne. So, I'm surprised that you would have that view, because I'm sure he would be 100% behind.
Just the fact that he wasn't prepared to move over. I mean, the year before he did, but that was hard because his family was here. But when you've got a senior coach who's got a midfield role trying to coach a team from Melbourne, that really got the club off onto a fairly slow start, I thought.
Oh, well, fair enough. Yeah, but I don't know a great deal about that. But look, from the perspective he approached me about 2 months ago, Dean, he was thinking about putting in for the Melbourne job, and he just wanted to, because naturally me being at Melbourne, he just wanted to pick my brains about certain things. Gee, I was that impressed with the presentation that he showed me that I was just blown away, especially with certain sides of it to do with the mental side of the game, which I think we haven't quite encapsulated yet, and that might be something that I see from a distance with Port Adelaide that could really help, just the mental side of it, to make sure that you would expect a certain behaviour and a certain performance week in, week out, and I reckon it comes down to a lot of it above the shoulders rather than the physicality or even the fitness of it all. So,
yep.
I thought he was really impressive and was happy to give the time to him he was analysing some of their players so that he could put in a good presentation. So I couldn't speak more highly of how thorough he is.
Brad, you got a young colt out at South Adelaide. So what's the tie in there? You got family, and when do you start, and where will you live, and all that sort of stuff, or is it still too early?
Probably a bit early, but look, Xavier he's been 2 years over there, so that's why that also attracted me. My wife and I have been coming across and watching a bit. I think I've been across about 3 or 4 times over the last couple of years, and we've been really impressed with the place, even though, I was over there for half a season, so I had a bit more of an idea. But he's really enjoyed his time over there, and he's just so thrilled with South Adelaide making some inroads. The first year they only won a couple of games, and then this year to make the final. So I flew across to watch the first final, and I was so impressed with their side, and what Ronnie Fuller and Neil Sharp have done down there is quite remarkable. And Ben Kavanagh, they run a very, very good ship, and Xavier was offered another contract for another year, and he was just tossing it around on what to do. And yeah, and I've just said to him, just sit tight the last couple of weeks. Just sit tight just in case something happens, because certainly him and I will shack up together, so that'll be really good. Bit of bonding between dad and son.
How good's that?
Now we have to get to the inevitable question. It's like the big elephant in the corner. You coached Brendan Favola last year.
Yeah.
Were you happy with him?
Oh, well, look, yeah, from the perspective of I was really pleased with what I got out of him. It was an interesting decision because Melbourne weren't that favourable of taking him on. Casey took him on.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Naturally, I'm employed by Casey Scorpion, so in the end, I said, okay, well, I go along with that. And once we were committed to doing that and all bets are off, we said we'll give it everything to make sure that we get the best out of him. So I don't think he was in the press too often for the wrong reasons, and I held him back. Look, by my own admission, I held him back a little bit during the year so that he wasn't the main man, because I was trying to develop some of the Melbourne boys at the same time, like Lucas Cook, the first-round draft pick, was important to Melbourne. So it was a bit of a balancing act, but Trev was great because I would talk to him about what we're doing. I even tried to get him up the ground playing like a modern game, which was quite interesting because he hadn't done that since he was really fit in the late 90s, I think, covered that much ground. So, look, he was really willing and he fitted in well, and, I can't really complain about the time that we spent, except we got picked off in the finals because we were a bit one-dimensional. In the end, they dropped numbers back on him and we couldn't get that penetration to him like we've been doing all year. But, look, I can't have too many complaints, to be honest.
Would you recommend him, pick him up as a mature age rookie?
Oh, I wouldn't think so for Port because they're in a different phase. I would recommend him to a side like a St Kilda or a Bulldog, someone that's on the verge of maybe getting to a final. So I don't think you want to stifle your own development when you're a bit more down the ladder, if you know what I mean. I think he'd be better suited to a team that he could actually finish off their work and, that they could actually get some real benefit out of him, because he'd want to play in a successful side and a premiership side, straight up sort of thing. So, it's probably better he goes down that track, I would have thought.
The talent on the list, and they've got some, no question about that, Brad. You've had a little bit of a look. It's probably unfair to ask straight off the bat, but you expect an instant spike from their performance last year up the ladder? Like knock on the door of the top 8? Would you expect that?
You'd like to think so. I mean, as I said, I stand for high expectations, but you've got to be realistic too, because I haven't been in the place and see how they go about things and, just what the attitude's like. Is a culture of hard work and relentlessness to pursue a certain goal and achievement. You've got to really stand for something. If you want to be a successful team, you need to stand for something. You've got to have people that are in there that are driving it too. You've got to have leaders that are just fanatical about pushing each and every one of them to get the best out of themselves. So you'd like to think that, we can threaten, but, it's still early days for me. Ask me in a few months' time.
When do you get here?
Oh, look, I'd be planning, I think from what Matthew was saying on the weekend, that they start back in early November, but we might get together as a coaching group a week before that. So it might be maybe Monday week or something, maybe the 31st, I'd say, somewhere around there.
Well, mate, good luck. Congratulations.
Well done, Brad.
It's a great appointment. As I said, your CV is super impressive. It lobbed on my desk. You'd get the interview, and then...
Well, thanks, Graham. Appreciate it.
Oh, well done.
Didn't say you get the job. You get the interview.
Well, he's got the job. He doesn't care about you.
But you got the job. So it's a tough gig, but in a lot of ways, it's a good gig because you can actually start from the bottom and start to shape, and the only way is up. So, mate, congratulations. Welcome back to Adelaide, and let's hope it goes well for you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. We'll no doubt talk a bit more.
Well done, Brad.
Brad Gotch, Port Adelaide's new assistant.
He's a
coach.
Port Adelaide man, 85, played for the Maggies. He's a Port Adelaide man.
Big Bob McLean up in the corner.
If he set one into the room and said, we need you to perform, Brad, he did. He played well too. I think, who was the coach in 85? Was that Russell?
Russell.
Good on him, great appointment. Good on him, great appointment. Good on him, great appointment. Good on him, great appointment.